There's this economic law called Engel's law, and Ernst Engel coined it way, way back when. It's kind of a neat one. And Engel said that rising average incomes will, over time, allow people to move from consuming needs to consuming luxuries. So that's kind of a no-brainer. But what Engels added to the end of this, he said, but you know what happens over the time is that those luxuries, they actually become the needs of that society. So what the result is market diversification as new higher-order luxuries are continually demanded within a marketplace as they themselves become needs over time. So this is something that is certainly reflected in a North American and a Canadian context with respect to food and tastes. And I've sort of coined this in terms of the diversification of taste. Because if we look way, way back when, we started off and we were Hoovers, right? We used to eat everything. There were early vegetarians. They didn't last very long. Extinction definitely became of the early vegetarians. We evolved a little bit. We evolved into reasonable people. We'd eat anything except Brussels sprouts. I really dislike Brussels sprouts, yes. Then there was the non-red meat eaters, but howdy KFC. The vegetarians, please pass the calamari. Lacto-ovo-vegetarians, lacto-vegetarians, then vegans, and then, oh my God, fruitarians. So there's cheese all the way back to the 1960s. We've actually seen about a 34% increase in total per capita cheese consumption since about 1981. It's about 10.4 kgs per person. But if we look at cottage cheese, it's been a decline. Who likes cottage cheese, right? It doesn't taste like anything. It's like tofu, I hate to say it. Do something with it. How about processed cheese? Now, this chart actually freaks me out a little bit because I was born in the 1970s, and if I look at that early period from the 1970s and that ramp up of processed cheese consumption, I remember those cheese slices. Cheese whiz on celery? Yeah, that was one of my mom's favorites, not mine. But what the impact of that downstream is, I'm not really sure. But you can see, on the whole, there's been a 32% decline in the per capita amount of processed cheese consumed. Even the venerable cheddar, which is the staple, right, has been relatively consistent with respect to per capita consumption on the cheese side. So what is driving this per capita increase in cheese? Well, it's variety cheeses. 123% increase in variety of cheeses. So again, another great example of diversification of tastes that we see here in North America as our incomes diversify, and we can go and buy different varieties of, whether it be vegetables or cheese in this particular context, just food in general. So Engel's law and market diversification is a great example on the West Coast. Has anybody ever heard of Salt Spring Island cheese? Yeah, it's David Wood. He started this. Salt Spring Island is one of the Gulf Islands between Victoria and Vancouver. And what they do is they produce increasingly specialized products that are targeted to very, very specific consumer markets. But it's a really good example of market diversification in terms of catering to a very, very niche market. Plain goat cheese retails about $2.95. But if we look at Salt Spring Island cheese, what we actually have is hand-packed Salt Spring Island chèvre with basil, chili, garlic, lemon, pepper, and a sprinkle of white truffle. What do you think the retail price is? $6.95. So the margin's very, very significant as well with respect to some of these diversification of tastes. So again, in a North American context or in a Canadian context, these are some of the issues with respect to changing tastes. Much different with respect to the international side of things and the developing world. They're looking to us of 20 and 30 years ago to emulate our diets, and that's why we see this big push towards meat as well, as we in North America have seen a declining per cap consumption of meat and beef as well. So again, diversification is going to characterize both markets, just do it in a little bit of a different way.